Junk Journal January UK is full steam ahead, and today is day 18, which means it's my turn, Sharon from BeaDivineVintage, to look at tabs with you. I don't make the conventional tabs. I like my tabs to be different throughout my journal. So I've quite a few, well, I have lots of processes in my head, but today I'm going to show you some of those processes. First of all, I've gathered together all sorts of bits and pieces on my desk, mainly my scraps and obviously my graphics. Winter Woodland from Sandra at Happy Stationery, and also Crafting Dragon Design. We'll put the link below. And Junk Journal January UK is brought to you in conjunction with Lindsey from the Vintage Button. So without further ado, let me flip my camera around and let you have a look at what I've gathered together on my desk. First thing is my cup of tea. So I've got my cup of tea ready. I've got some new inks here, this distressing vintage photo, because I've used so much of it recently. I've got my glue gun sitting there, lots of pairs of scissors. I've got my fabric scraps, my little glue tray, different types of glue. I've got a tray here. This is what I started off with collecting things. So I've got some vintage sellotape, funky paper clips. These were literally all bits and bobs that were on my desk. A little tiny envelope, fabric scraps, buttons, right, my leaves, some water spray, PVA, Elmer glue, school glue. Now this is my old vintage photo distress ink. So I've got some water and I thought we can spray it and see what we can do there. I've got scissors, I've got paper leaves, I've got my press leaves. This is the tab. We'll talk more about these after, within the kit. So I've got this random little fox out of the kit. He's just there. And over here I've got some fabric that I dyed, and they are postcards, so I've obviously printed on them at some point, but I might use them as tabs. We're going to have a play. I printed these off this morning because I'm going to make some big tabs. So these little tabs are going to be too small for me. I'm going to put big tabs in my journal. So these are the things I've printed off. That one is my favourite graphic of all. So as you can see, it's Happy Stationery and Crafting Dragon's Design. Typewriters ready there, just in case. This, some girls' own paper. This is from the 1800s, 1860s, I think. This, I thought I might use this somewhere in the journal. I haven't yet, but I may use it on a tag. Then I've got all my paper sort of, well, that's a little envelope there, and then all my paper scraps. There we go, that's my view from where I craft. So I've got a nice cold wintry day to look at to give me inspiration. So without further ado, let's get started and let's see what happens. So here we are. This is sort of the first sneaky peeky look at my journal, actually. You've seen this part of it, which is sort of my cover, but I've also, and I've done the floating spine. I've got one more signature here to sew in, but this is going to fix inside this faux leather cover like this. And then this will come around here. So it'll look like that. That's how it will look. So I wanted it to look like you can sort of have reached into a tree trunk and pull that out, as though it is the journal of the animals that live in the forest. Back to tabs. So I want to I'm going to make a tab now. So I feel that I need a substantial tab, but I can't have it with wrapping it, I can't have it poking out too far. So I'm going to use, my first tab, I'm going to use this. I just sort of decide on what I want as I go along. So we've got a foxy there, so we could put a foxy tab. That'd look quite nice there, wouldn't it? It just fits onto that too. So we could put a tab there, which would look like that. So yes, so we're going to use that there as our first tab. So I've got some A4 card from Hobbycraft. This is ivory, 225 grams, quite a substantial card. So I want to glue that onto there, but I also want an edge with some of this gauze there. I think I want to use this. This is an edge. I'm going to show you a few different ways of doing tabs as we go along. Because you don't have to have the same style throughout your journal. You can use lots of different styles. So let's go ahead and fix this onto the card. So I've literally just drawn around the heart onto this 225 gram card. I'm going to glue that onto there and put a little bit of trim from the gauze, and that is dyed with the red cabbage. Here we go. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this. This is just your ordinary PVA Elmer's school glue. Let's put that on there. Yeah, I just couldn't print onto this card, but it is a lovely weight of card. So let's just cut a little bit of I only want it down this edge. Let's cut a little bit off. So I'm going to make quite a few different tags as we go along. Tags as we go along. So you can see the different ones that I like to make. I don't like to have, when I'm doing a journal that's a little bit sort of more bohemian like this one is, I don't really want to have the same tab in it all the way through. So I'll use some different methods, which obviously I'm going to show you. So let's pop our foxes on there. There we go. And I am just going to stitch around my foxy tab. I'll just go and do that. I'll be back in a second. Okay, that's done. Stitched around. And I've got my distressing here. Vintage photo, it's my new one, this one. So we all love using new things, don't we? Just going to carefully go around the edge there. Let's just go around the back as well. Oh, I'm sorry if you can hear my fan heater. I've had to switch it on because I'm just so cold. Right, I've got here diamond glaze. I don't know if you've ever used this. Now, I can't get this in the UK. I have to order it in from America. But this 8 fluid ounces, 237 mils, lasts me ages and ages. Now, it's very similar to the glossy accents. However, I like diamond glaze in that it dries much quicker. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take off the top here, and I'm actually just going to pop myself a little bit on here. Just a little bit like that. I've got a paintbrush And I'm going to paint the foxes. So I don't want it all over, I just want it on the foxes. And I don't want a thick coat, I'm just doing a nice sort of gentle coat. It's beautiful. Now it will sort of settle itself. You know, it'll find its own level, so don't worry if it's a little bit bumpy. We don't mind a little bit bumpy, but it will settle, you know, find its own level, I think is the word I'm looking for. So I'm doing the fox's head there, just turn it upside down, and let's do, I see this as a mother and baby, pretty sure that's what it is. Let's do Mummy Fox. Just get a little bit more diamond glaze. I do love diamond glaze. Of the two, Glossy Accents and diamond glaze is my favourite one to use. And you get that lovely sort of varnished look. If you use diamond glaze, if you make paper beads and you use diamond glaze on your paper beads, it's really lovely. Really lovely. The rock hard finish that you get to it. So let's have a look. Can you see it on there? Can you see the glaze on there? It's really, really pretty. So I'm just going to go over it again and look for air bubbles, etc. And I'm gently just going to dab that diamond glaze in. Now the other thing you can do with diamond glaze is you can actually dry it with your blower. Now I'm not going to dry this, I don't want to, I'm going to let this dry itself. Right, so that's on my mummy and baby fox. Now I will need to wash my brush pretty quickly, because if I don't, it'll dry my brush rock hard. So I'm going to get, this is the Rock Candy Crystal Clear Glitter, and I'm actually just going to sprinkle a little bit on there as well, just to give us that little glittery effect for the Winter Woodland, for that icy. So let's just leave that to dry. So that's dried now, and you can see the gloss on there from the diamond glaze just on the foxes, and also you can see the spark. Can you see the sparkle there from the Rock Candy? Let's just come out a little bit now. Whoop. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do something with these berries, I thought. So I've got my sequin box out, and I've got my tweezers here. I saw this sort of bigger, that's quite nice, bigger sequin. I didn't know whether to put tiny sequins on, but actually looking at that, that's quite nice. Let's see what we've got in red sequins. There's another one there. So do I use those, or do I just use my tiny ones? What do you think? Let's get some out there. There we go, I've got this one. I'm going to glue these on too, I'm not going to stitch them on. It doesn't even want to pick up on my blooming... Oh, there we go. There we go, that's smaller than that one. That's a smaller one. Yes, it's taken about 20 minutes for that to dry. This is a small one as well. Come on. I actually quite like those sizes of sequins for the berries. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to pop some glue on. I'm going to, for the speed of the drying, I'm going to use some fabric tack. And then let's put these on. That's a big one there. This one, turn it over. Picking up easy now because I've got that bit of glue on my fingers. Whoop, there we go. It's like a holographic one, that. There we go. Whoop. And there we go. I think that looks really, really pretty. It's nice. It's make a nice tag as well, wouldn't it? But this is a tab with a B, not a G. Now then. So I'll just get my journal. We'll just give that a minute to dry and I'll get my journal and we'll fasten that in. Okay, so we've made this one to go on this page. So it's literally going to come out like that. So work out whereabouts you want the tab to be. That looks nice. So what I'm going to do on the other side of this, just take a piece of my card here. So on the other side, so this is the side that's going to be visible from the back. I've got this stencil. This is one of my favourite little stencils. I don't know where I got it from. I've had it ages and ages and ages. So I'm just going to dab around the back there because I just want to. I thought this reminded me of tree trunk, inside tree trunk. That's why I picked it. I'm just going to put it on like that because this half will be glued on. And let's get some glue. Again, fabric tack because it'll dry quick. I should have put my glue gun on. I keep forgetting about my glue gun because it's new. Got it at Christmas. I opted for a glue gun instead of perfume off my mum. My kids were like, my daughters, my grown-up daughters were like, Mummy, you're mad. You want a glue gun instead of perfume? So that we're going to pop on around there, we said. So there's, just move it over, there's the back of the tag. Now remember, this is a torn in page, so it's not going to protrude as much as it looks like from the whole book. And then from the book, there it is. There's the first tab. And when you close the book, it'll be like that. In fact, I think I'll just push it in a little bit more. She's got a few minutes to work with fabric tack, so that's one of the things I like about it. It stays malleable for a couple of minutes. Right, there we go. And there is the first tab. Let's get on with our second one. So another thing I like to use as tabs are clip-on earrings. I do like vintage jewellery. Now, these are some I bought just at a recent flea market I went to. Sorry, let's move them into the middle. Now, as you can see, this is lovely, this one, but can you see it's pretty deep? Whereas these are quite flat. So I do look for the flat ones. So I'll just show you how I might use one of these. So I was just looking, I thought, wouldn't it be pretty to put one here? So what a tab is, it's a page divider. So you can instantly look and think, that's where I need to be. So there. So although it's not big and sticking out like this, it's still a recognisable divide. So yeah, I think that looks really pretty. and it goes just below these leaves and this owl here. So what I do is you have to fix it because whoops, otherwise it would just quite easily slip off. So I just put a bit of fabric tack on each side. Or you could use your glue from your glue gun or a super glue, whatever glue you like to use. And then find your spot and pop it on. Pop it on, let's just hold it for a second. There we go, that's two kind of tabs now. We've got this one, we've got this one. Now I'm going to put one more in, this first signature. I'll put it in around here somewhere. Let's have a look. Where's the back of the signature? There it is. So I'll probably put it on here. So then I'll have 3 little page dividers, 3 tabs. I'll be back shortly. So this is the one that you get inside the kit. Now I don't have one of those whale punches. Don't know if you're lucky enough to do that, just punches out the tabs. I'd love to have one, and I look everywhere for them at flea markets and charity thrift shops, but I've never ever found one. I've got something similar, but I'd love the whale one. If you've got one, let me know. Now, as you know, I'm doing the giveaway with this video, so it's really important that you subscribe to my channel and that you put me a comment down below. So that is the tab that you get, and you could use that as your stencil to draw around for more, not your stencil, your template. Now within the book, within my book I should say, within my book, if I put that, so I want it further in, so if I put that on there, like there, oops, you can't even see it, there, that wouldn't have, for me, a big enough impact. Can you see it there? It's just sticking out a tiny bit. So I'm going to show you what to do with that to make it bigger. So let's open it up. Actually got this bit or this bit, whichever. There's the 2 little mice on there to work, that we're going to work with. So first of all, we are going to have a look at what we've got in our leaves. We could put a leaf on, couldn't we, to make it bigger? These are the leaves. I'll put a link below that I got from the die cuts, and I got them from, I do believe, eBay. It's not blowing me away, that. Right, I do like a leaf on there, but just a leaf alone isn't doing it for me. That's quite a nice leaf as well, that one. Right, so let's get some fabric. So shall we put it on purple? Because if we put it on green, we won't be able to see it. Or do we put it on some of the coffee dye, the rust stained? Yeah, I actually think the rust stained. So what I'm going to do, let's have a look if we've got any lace actually in our, this is my scraps. So I've got some tulle there. So have a look through your scraps. That's quite pretty as well. Have a look through your scraps, see what you have, see what you think. Oh, that'll look nice. Get your bits and bobs together. I'm not going to pull it all out because it'd take me forever to get it away. There's a little bit of lace there. Yeah, so get your bits and pieces together. Right, let's push these back in. This is quite nice, this velvet on here. Should we have some of that? This is off some vintage, I do collect vintage dolls to do work with, to alter. So I do take the clothes off them. That's quite nice actually, it goes in with our colours, doesn't it? So if we just take that off there. So I keep most of these dolls' clothes. I mean, if they're very good condition dolls' clothes, I keep them for journals, etc. But these, I keep in my... That's nice, that bow. I'm just going to cut that bow off there. I keep in my scraps jar. What I'm trying to show you is, you know, you'll have things around you. You'll have scraps and bits and pieces and things that you can use. Right, so that's there. So I like this, didn't I? Let's cut a piece of this. So this, and we said some of this as well. So fragile that. It's really old. And after dyeing it, it's rusting it up. It's really fragile. So if I did that and then I put that on top of it, yeah. Whoops, not with diamond glaze. So I'm going to switch my glue gun on. Right. Never used it yet. Where are we now? 17th, 16th, 17th of January. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put the glue on here. I'm going to put this on. Sorry for going over the graphics. Sorry about that. You can, of course, use those little tabs if you want to do, but for my style of journal, it just wasn't, it wouldn't have been effective enough. It got lost. Right, let's put this on. So this has got some trim on. So this is vintage. It's got vintage lace, vintage trim, vintage velvet. Now then, do I want this on it? This little mirror. I like that mirror. We said a leaf, didn't we? So, new. Definitely not. This was the one that I quite liked. It's like an oak tree leaf. That one. So this little piece of tulle there. That would go quite nice. Yep, let's do that. So what you need to do is, this is why I got a tray together at the beginning, that was my Lancashire accent, my Bolton accent then coming out, weren't it? So, yeah, by getting your bits and pieces out at the start, before you start, you will have everything around you that you might want to use. And as you can see, apart from these leaves, and apart from the graphic underneath, I'm working with scraps that are left over from doing my journal. So I'll put that on there. That's pretty. Now I could have stitched down that as well if I'd have wanted to. Just holding it down, squashing it down, then it's not as thick. Now then, do I want my little mirrored piece on? I could put it on the back, couldn't I? Shall I put it on the back, or do I leave the graphics on the back? When you get fabric tack on you, everything sticks, doesn't it? Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, so just have your stuff around you and just play. Play, play, play. So before I started too, when I was gathering everything together, I had some music playing, and that stimulates the right side of your brain, which is your creative side. That's the bit that you want working when you're crafting. I think your left is your intellectual, isn't it? Your right is your creative. Right, there we go. Now then, there we go. Let's put this little... Oh, that's going to look great on there. Now, I know it's a bit deep because it is a... I don't know what it is. It's like plastic or something. It might be metal flower. I don't know if it's a button or a bead. Sorry if my arm went across. And let's just pop that on top there. Just holding it on. I'll show you in a seckie. There we go. So that is our third tab. I'll just get my book and we can put that one in. There we go. 1, 2. And this one, we said on this third page here. The third tab towards the back of the signature. So we're going to open that tab up and put our glue on. Oh, let's see if the glue gun's going. Yes, it is. Yeah, and this glue just doesn't feel hot either. You know how glue normally burns your fingers to smithereens, or this one doesn't. And we just fix that onto there. And there is our third page tab. So if we close up, we've got 1, we've got 2, and we've got, I'm just going to pull it out a tiny bit. That's the problem with glue guns, they dry very quickly, don't they? And there's our third popping out there. So there we go, that's 3. So I'm going to make some more, and I'll be back shortly. I didn't show you the back of that tab, just by putting those things on. You can still see some of the graphics there, but it looks really pretty, that. So I'm going to go to this second signature now, and I think I'm going to make a more interactive tab out of this envelope. Okay, I do need to use this glass, so I'm sorry about the light reflection there. Let's do what we need to do. This is my old distress ink. Oh, there is a little bit on there, look at that. The one that I thought was finished. I'm going to spray a little bit of water on it. This is a quick and simple way to coffee stain. You know, if you're just coffee staining a small item. Then let's get my... Put a bit inside the envelope too. And we want some on this. So I'm going to put it on this way. So let's do that. To make it look old. Right, back with the scrap. There we go. Right. So inside of this, I'm going to put, let's just do that a bit there. I'm going to put this piece of card for writing on. This card came with the envelope, and it has like 4 stitches around. So I don't need to stitch around it. I'll stick with the faux. So what we're going to do here is a little stacked envelope set. So we're going to put that into there. It's virtually dry this now. So that's there. So I'm going to use a little owl here from the graphics. It's a lovely Winter Woodland set. And let's put some glue on the back of it. Put it on there, on the envelope. And pop that onto it there like that. So we're going to have that one. And then I've got some pieces of my scrap. Everything's scrap. Now I'm going to make a couple of fake envelopes now to put on there. So we want something smaller than that. So let's have a look. So round there. So let's just tear down there. I'm a tearer, remember. I don't really like to cut. We just tear down there. With it being vintage paper, this, it's old music score, it's quite easy to tear. Now I am just going to cut this little bit there off there. Right, so if you fold across like that, and again across, so you fold that diagonally and then you fold across the bottom, and your one across the bottom there is the one that you want to cut or tear. Oops, let's just cut that there. It's not wanting to tear straight. Whoop, there we go. And then, so you've got your diagonal there. You fold it again for the other diagonal so that you have a point in the middle. So then we fold the two sides into the middle. 1, 2, and then your bottom piece comes up, and there you go, you've got another little envelope. So let's just go around this. So I'm just going to take that down a little bit more there. Yep. This envelope isn't going to open. We're going to glue this one down. This is just for aesthetic reasons, to make a little stack set. I mean, you can make little stacked envelope sets and leave your envelopes open so that you can use them. They do look very nice. They're pretty in journals. I mean, you can stack and stack and stack and stack. You don't need to make them. You can use ready-made envelopes. In fact, I'm just going to use a bit of dry glue on this. We just put some glue down here, put that onto there. We're going to put some glue on there, and we're going to close that up. The person that does this a lot is the girl on the ridge. So we'll have that on there. Then we want another one. So we're going to do exactly the same here. So we literally will decide how we want them to go. So we could do it like this. Yeah, we're on, aren't we? We're on screen there. Let's just zoom you right in there. You could stack them up exactly. I do like to do it in odd numbers. You could stack them in a straight line if that's what you... A little bit of glue and everything sticks to you. Stack them in a straight line. We could put one there, one off to the side. I actually quite like them before when we'd got one off to the side and then another one. Where did we put the other one then? The other one about there. I think that looked nice. Put it there like that. So it looks like 3 envelopes, but actually you've just got the one. And these make a lovely, I think, a lovely, so we'll put that there. and we will pop a bit of glue onto the back of here. I love it because it's like hot glue, but it's not, doesn't hurt your fingers. Put that on there like that. There we go. I really like that. That's like owl post, isn't it? A bit Hogwarts. There's that one. So let's just pop this in our journal as well. Okay, I'm trying not to show you too much of my journal before I do the flip through. So I thought it would look nice on there like that. Sort of have the owl peeping out on the corner there. So that little, when you turn to this next signature, that little bit there would be the tab. So I want that exactly there. So let's just lift this up and put some glue on the back of there. So that is there. And some glue on the back of here. So that is there. So there we have got another little tab with 4 envelopes, stacked 4 envelopes. And from the back, it looks like, always check the back. So from the back, it looks like that, which I don't like. So we need to do something about that. So on the back, I'll just stick some of that across the back. Then the lace would come at the front, yeah. Yes. So always check the back as well. Because remember, once your journal's opened, there is a front and a back to all your pages. There we go. Let's put some fabric tack under there. So I guess what I'm basically saying to you now is absolutely and utterly use your imagination. Now then, I've got here a piece of journal jewellery that I made from a vintage flower. So I literally gilded the flower, as you can see, put some glue on it, dipped it in the rock candy. Now with the wire of the flower, you can see here, I thread my beads on, curled up the end and put a little ring tag on, a little ring, what are they called? You know what they're called, and a clip. So I'm going to use this as another page divider. So we've got this. So I'm thinking of putting this, because this leaf is naturally sticking out there. So I thought if I put that on there, that is another reminder of actually I've got a page divider here for whatever reason. So let's pop that on there. So journal jewellery. So this isn't an earring, but this is a bohemian bead that I made using vintage. I'll find the video on how I made this and I will link it below. So there, that fits. Those colours fit great with that page. Do you know, and I didn't do that on purpose. It's just so happened to have worked out that way. So there we go. Stack of envelopes. Vintage flower. So I just need another one for down at the bottom. I'm trying to put now 3 on each. So here's, just trying to find, there's the end of that signature. So I need another tag around here somewhere. So we'll just make one more. For this one, I'm going to use this little tiny mouse. And I'm going to split you off from your little friend there. And I'm just going to do an easy fussy cut around. So this is a piece of fabric that I've photocopied onto that, printed onto it, I mean. And to me, it does look like the inside of a tree trunk, doesn't it? So I think I've made it as a tag because I've got white gesso on there to write, which you can write on. Yeah, white gesso, which you can write on. So I'm going to fold that around. So I want to put my little mouse on there. So because if your little mouse would probably hide inside your tree trunk anyway, wouldn't it? I don't want it on this side. And then that would be on the other. Nope, let's do it this way. So I'm going to put that on there. So I'm sort of going to decoupage that onto this. And I'm going to use my Elmer's glue. So it's PVA Elmer's. So let's just paint onto here, this half. I mean, I just have a go at decoupaging me onto anything. It doesn't have to be just onto paper. Well, as you know, bottles, all sorts of things. So there's my glue. So I've decided to go all over because you know it will dry clear. Let's put my little mouse on. Little mouse in the house. There. Oh, that's cute. Then I'm going to go over the top of the mouse. And this glue will leave the mouse. So if you don't have diamond glaze, this will leave your mouse a little bit glossy. Do you remember doing it at school? Right, we'll just give that a couple of minutes to dry and then I'll be back. So I've decided I'm going to put a little vintage button on there, but can you see how that is shiny, that little mouse, and it's fixed down flat onto that. I can bend the fabric and it doesn't lift. I was thinking of putting this other earring on. I thought that looked cute as well. That looked cute. I thought it might have been something the mouse had found. Do you know, I do like that on there. But then I like my button too. Perhaps I should have put them both on. Let's put some fabric tack on. Yeah, because my glue gun's turned it off. I just can't get used to it. I will get used to it. It's brand new to me, so let's pop that. Whoops. Where the bend is there. I'm going to pop that onto there. Like I say, I like these because they're pretty flat. They're also good, these to use as paper clips, you know, holding a piece of paper into your journal as well. And then I'm going to use this button. Now I like buttons with, there we go, buttons with cotton already in them. Now if that button could talk, what story would it tell? So I'm going to put that button on. If I have a old button that doesn't, a vintage or an antique button that doesn't have cotton on, quite often I'll just pop some on myself, stitch some on myself, and then just use a bit of my Distress Ink or Oxide just to colour it up. Sorry for the pause there. I was just thinking then, why don't I put a rusted paper clip on as well? Brought them back to the nest. A paper clip. Brooch, an earring, sorry, and a button. Right. So this is to go in here, this one. So that's the pocket. I'm actually going to put it this page here about there. It's got a little tuck spot there, so if I put it just underneath that tuck spot. So I'm going to put this on here. And I've chosen this page, as I said, because this one is a flimsy page. So we'll put that there under this tuck. There's a pocket there and a tuck there. Turn it over and then put the glue on the other side. So we'll put some on the page, some on this side of the tag and on the opposite side of the tab. Keep saying tag, I mean tab. And I'm going to just bob them together. So have a look through your stash, look at things that you've made. Things that you've made previously that just so happen to match in with your subject. So yeah, so it's my little mouse, baby mouse. I think there were 2 babies, weren't there? So that's baby mouse in a tree trunk nest. So there we go, in the grand scheme of things. There it is. Let's just get this. There we go. We've got the letter stack as one divider, one tab divider. We've got the piece of journal jewellery, the vintage rose, blue rose, which I've attached to the leaf that was sticking out itself. And then we've got our little mouse there. So that's 3 more tags. So I'm going to end the video here, but I will put photographs at the end of all the other tabs that I've made. If there's any in particular you want me to show you how I made them, then I will do that. Just let me know. Please comment below. Please subscribe. But you need, if you want to be entered into the draw, you need to comment and either be a subscriber or a new subscriber. So right, giveaway. So while that diamond glaze is just drying, I thought I'll show you what I've got to give away. Let's zoom in a bit. You don't want to see my untidy desk. You know what your desk is like just as you're getting towards the end of that journal. Right, so for this journal, I've made some flashcards. There's just 3 here at the moment. There will be more. There'll be some red ones as well. So there's going to be about 6 or 7 of those. So they are on card, and you can cut the threads off if you want to do, or you can keep the threads on. That's up to you. So there's going to be about 8 of those little flashcards that go with the kit, or with any woodland really. There is going to be some of this edging that I made, this paper edging, the vintage music paper. So there's going to be that. I've not put any ink on that. I was going to do, but then I thought, well, whoever wins this might not want that. There is a little bag here of leaves. I'm not going to pull them all out. It took me ages to get them all in. So there's some of my silk leaves, some of the paper leaves, the die cut paper leaves, silk leaves. They're not going to go back in, so I'll do that after. There's a bag here. So these are avocado stained. I keep saying avocado stained glassine bags. This one's got vintage buttons in. There's some mother of pearl in there. They're the old mother of pearl buttons. Oh, look at that one. Little triangle. That's nice. So those are in there. I'm not sure if there's a glass button or 2 in there as well. So there's those that are stitched across the bottom. There's this. Remember when I made this? Well, I haven't used this one in the journal. I've used one of the pockets, but not this one. So there's this pocket. Now it's made as though it's going to fasten in at the back onto a page. So if you need the back, if you're going to put it in sort of as a flip like this, then you'll need to decorate the back yourself. There is the doily, and that is, let's have a look here. That is this one. It's the exact same, and this is the one that I dyed with red cabbage. I know, I'm doing some red cabbage dyeing in a couple of weeks. I'm going to do, well, next week, so I'm going to do a video on it so you can see all the different colours. Amazing. So yeah, there's that vintage doily there. So there's also a couple of pieces of this vellum. I've not used these exact ones in my journal. However, I thought I'd put them in because I have used some vellum, but I don't have any of the same to give away. Right, these are vintage pages from a woman's magazine from the early 1900s. So that's some vintage paper. And I love these blouses on the front there, new style blouses. So that they're like Edwardian, I think. So there's those. So by Edwardian, I mean sort of around 1910 maybe. Then there's some coffee dyed, a couple of coffee dyed papers. There's a coffee dyed envelope here for you to use. There are some coffee dyed vintage papers from books, a couple of those. This one's in French. And then this is the girl's own paper, and this is, as you can see, 1886, and it's from October the 9th, 1886. So this is Victorian. So it's a vintage papers, got a beautiful picture there. Look at that, it's absolutely lovely. So yeah, so these are, they're not vintage, I don't suppose, they're antique, these, aren't they? These are with it as well. There's a lady and a poem there, autumn. There's some music score from the girl's own paper. So there's those. There's this is a signature from a ledger book. And as you can see, repaid 1872. So that's how old these, so these are what, 126, 36, 144 years old. And I carefully cut that out using, you know, at the edges there, I was able to cut it out. So it's still sort of in a signature. And for you to do what you will with. There are some marks on it, but what can you expect when it's that old? There are a couple of these are really old stamps on the stamp album. It's old vintage stamp album paper. You can see the aging around and the white still from the stamps. So those are birds, and we've got a little mouse on there, so I thought it was appropriate. I'm not sure what that is. Not sure what that is, and I'm not sure what that is because the writing isn't in English. It looks Eastern European. So we've got a pine tree there with pine cones. So I thought that fit in with the project. And here's some more birds and animals. And then finally there's some piano roll paper. I love the noise of this. So I've used some of this in my journal. So when I do the flip through, you'll see how I've used it. But I love to use it in my journals. I've loved doing this journal because I've hit a barrier for quite a while actually. I bet it longer than a year. But doing this journal has really brought me back to where I need to be with my journaling. So yeah, so that is a little giveaway from me. So if you're watching this journal, not this video, as I said earlier, what you need to do is you need to be a subscriber, or to subscribe and stay subscribed. You need to also comment on the video below. It'd be lovely to see the sort of thing you might do with these papers. That would be lovely. Just tell me that. So yeah, nice little kit there for you to add to your own stash. So yeah, without further ado, let's get on with making some tabs.